10 years ago, sports sedans were the it segment. Buyers couldn't get enough of them. And then crossovers happened, and suddenly it seemed people weren't interested in four doors or driving dynamics. Somebody forgot to tell Genesis, and that's okay. The new G70 is a gift to those who wake up early on a Sunday morning to seek out empty, curvy roads. Lucky for us, competition in the sports sedan segment is fierce these days. Audi A4, BMW 3 Series, Cadillac ATS, Infiniti Q50, to name a few. Inevitably, a bunch of you are here to find out if the G70 handles better than any of them, because that's how these cars are marketed, right? Well, considering they're all so good these days, maybe it's best to look at them holistically. Let's start with design. It has the same length and wheelbase as a Mercedes C-Class. Wide and planted with an athletic posture, the 70 looks sporty, though the grille leans towards luxury to my eyes. Genesis calls the look athletic elegance, which is reinforced by the Aston Martin vibe of this logo. The sensor is kind of camouflaged, kind of not. Graceful lines flow from stem to stern. These are functional. A unique dimple in the C-pillar trim refuses my attempt to photograph it clearly. So you know the score. This particular sport model with Brembo brakes, heated and vented seats, plus a Lexicon sound system retails for $38,900. That's what those in the business call a great deal. Rear drive is standard, all-wheel drive is optional. G70 is based on the same architecture as the Kia Stinger, though the wheelbase of the Genesis is nearly 3 inches shorter. A 365-horse, 3.3-liter twin-turbocharged V6 is available. This one runs with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder with 252 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. G70 is a driver's car, and there are no steering wheel shift paddles on this one? That's because this really is a driver's car. There's a 6-speed manual available. Enthusiasts rejoice. Genesis predicts a 5 to 10% take rate on the manual. The 8-speed automatic does come with paddles and launch control. As expected, there are drive modes, including one that lets you personalize your own combo down to the steering weight and exhaust notes. A tip for those who are going to test drive the manual, going into reverse, it's best to kind of go down a little bit and then up. Otherwise, it's a little bit stubborn. That's so you look suave. All right, let's go forward. Yeah, a little bit of wheel spin there. Things are a little slick today. These are summer performance tires, by the way. While this photography was done on a damp morning, not optimal for traction, my driving impressions are based on a dry afternoon carving up curvaceous roads. G70 is happy to hunker down and slice up corners. It feels very balanced and natural. Albert Biermann and team did a nice job of tuning the chassis dynamics. Clutch weight is average, take-up is good. The shifter throws are a little bit longer than I would like. But let's not forget, the next generation BMW 3 Series will not be available with a manual transmission, meaning if you want one, you're going to have to go with this Cadillac ATS. The 70 is moderately quiet. It will be fine for long road trips. The engine note that's let into the cabin is not all that emotional or engaging. For a sports sedan that has little body roll, the ride quality is surprisingly comfortable. Go with the manual transmission, and it eliminates the adaptive cruise control and automatic emergency braking system, so it does become a much more manual car. This car is thirsty. Audi A4, BMW 320i, and Mercedes-Benz C300 average 27 miles per gallon, and the Lexus IS300 scores 26. Those have automatics. The 4-cylinder manual gearbox combo in the Genesis has an EPA average of 22 mpg. All of them specify premium fuel. Wet roads, of course, a little bit slippery. There is your the moment of the day, but a lot of people forget that wet leaves are a little bit like black ice. So when you see those, be careful out there. But even when driven a bit too hard for conditions, the G70 is fairly forgiving. Ask me how I know. Visibility is quite good, always a plus when pushing a car hard. Brakes, the Brembos on the Sport model do a good job of hauling the G70 down to a stop. They should be fade-free too, at least on public roads. You cannot get wood trim of any kind in a G70 cabin, so if bark is your thing, shop elsewhere. That should make it look sporty in here, but like the grille, the ambiance is more about luxury than athleticism. Seats that have moderate bolstering hold my medium-sized frame in place during hard cornering. There is no sunroof at this price. The user interface is fairly easy to use, but it looks plucked straight out of a Hyundai Sonata. Some sophisticated graphics, or at least some different ones, would be welcome considering it is the upscale division. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are included. Sports sedans need to be practical. Is it? Yeah, it's okay for a sports sedan. I'd rather be in the G90 with loads of legroom, but it's not a sports sedan. It's not nearly as fun to drive. So I do have enough head and knee room, but foot room a little tight. At least there's storage on both seat backs and the usual cubby here. I can charge my phone too. There are no heated seats in the back of this car. The drive shaft tunnel takes its toll on space. There are belts for 3, but the person in the middle will not be happy. So stop at 2 or buy the G80 or 90. The trunk lids of some cars can be opened by kicking under the back bumper. This one, you simply stand next to it for a little while and it opens automatically. You of course need the transponder key on you, otherwise it doesn't work. 60-40 split seats make sedans much more practical. 40-20-40 split seats would be even better. There's some storage, go a little bit deeper, and there's the battery. For weight distribution, I suppose. Rear and all-wheel drive mechanics always take up space from the trunk. As I expected, 5 packs of softness and absorbency just fit here. Dedicated Genesis dealerships should start popping up soon, meaning no more shopping at Hyundai dealerships. And pricing? A loaded all-wheel drive V6 G70 is $50,000, which is some $8 grand less than a comparably equipped BMW 340i xDrive. That bargain pricing and the driving dynamics should attract curious enthusiasts for test drives. This does little good for people shopping for a crossover. Genesis is still working on those. But if the G70 points the direction Genesis intends to take, the future looks bright for the brand. If it's any indication, I had a few guys come up to me that were pretty excited to see the G70 in the flesh. It seems the word is out that Genesis has something good here. I would like to see the direct Hyundai cues banished from this car though, and an interior that's a little bit more sport than luxury. If you're an enthusiast, I highly recommend watching the interview that I did with Albert Biermann. He ran BMW's M Performance division for years and is now working at Hyundai. He knows a thing or two about making a car get around a corner the right way. Well, that's my look at the new Genesis G70, and if you were paying attention at all to the video, here comes the big duh moment. If you're looking at a sports sedan, do not leave this off your test drive list. While the practical Minnesota-raised boy in me really likes the value, it's simply a very good car, and that's what's important in the end, isn't it? Yep, that's Driven. I'm Tom Voelk.